what test can I do today to understand my insulin resistance?
It's a great question. That's a great question. And the good news here is that there are blood tests, but there are far more simpler things that you can do to diagnose this much in advance. Far more simpler things. So I'll break it down into two. One, there are clinical markers. And second, there are blood markers. I'm going to start with clinical markers because they cost zero. And I can look at you and I can tell you whether you are insulin resistant or not. And you can do the same once you have this knowledge. Okay. So let's start with the clinical markers and then we'll come to the blood markers. I don't know if you're aware of this, but some people, I'm sure you must have seen, some people tend to have these skin tags. These are small little, skin bumps that you would often find at the back of the neck, around the neck, groin, armpits, wherever, the skin rubs with each other, you will find that some people have these skin tags. And if not skin tags, then some people will develop what is called skin patch. Okay, this is basically darkening of the skin, usually around the neck area. It looks dirty, but it's actually not dirty. You can't just clean it up. It's like a velvety black patch. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
That is the absolute proof that the person has insulin resistance. Why? Because insulin, as I mentioned before, is a growth hormone. It is anabolic. It actually causes abnormal growth in your skin cells. And that results into either that skin patch or these skin, the bumps in the skin. So if you are someone who has these abnormal skin tags or darkening of the skin, especially around the neck area, groin area, armpit area, there is a pretty good chance that you have a high level of insulin resistance. Simple thing, no test required. You can look and you can tell, right? Second, again, very simple thing, your waist size. Look, people who are insulin resistant, insulin resistance has a very close relationship with obesity. And typically, people tend to gain fat, but like I explained before, they tend to gain fat around the visceral area. So around your tummy, right? Or deep in your abdominal cavity, which basically makes your waist circumference to go up, right? And, especially in Punjabi families, I come from a Punjabi family, this pot belly is considered a sign of prosperity. You know what I mean? So actually, it's a sign of insulin resistance because if you have a waist circumference that is too large, and there are guidelines around it. I think for men it is 90 centimeters, and for women it is 80 centimeters. But actually, I have a better way to track this because it's more personalized. Your waist size should be whatever, whether you take it in inches or centimeters, it doesn't matter. Should be half of your height. If it is more than that, then you have visceral fat.
Waist should be half of the height.
Yeah,
that sounds too much of waist.
It is pretty generous, but is research says that that's a pretty good borderline. Ideally, so if
I thought there is a hip waist ratio that is calculated and seen.
This is waist to height ratio. It's a very well established researched marker. Your height to waist ratio, and so let's say if you are someone who's 160 centimeters, then your waist should be below 80 centimeters. If it is above 80 centimeters, then you have there is a pretty good chance of a metabolic dysfunction. It's a well-established rule and very simple. You can look at someone and you can tell.
You can tell.
How they look like, and that's easy. Third thing, high blood pressure. People think blood pressure is because of eating excessive salt. 50% of the blood pressure hypertension cases are because of insulin resistance. So if you have hypertension, it is not an absolute proof, but there is a pretty good chance that you have insulin. The underlying factor is insulin resistance. I can explain if you want to know.
1 second. Insulin resistance leads to diabetes, I understand. But insulin resistance leading to blood pressure?
Yeah. Let me explain that very quickly, yeah? So when your insulin levels are chronically elevated, it actually promotes a growth of a hormone called aldosterone. Aldosterone tells your kidneys to retain more salt. Wherever the salt will go, water will follow. Right? Now you are retaining more water because you have more salt, and that constricts your blood flow, and that directly causes your blood pressure to go up. In 50%, and this is research, by the way, it's not me saying I've cited this research in the book. The research says that 50% of hypertension cases are because of insulin resistance. So if you have hypertension, if your blood pressure is above 130 or 80, above normal, then there's a pretty good chance that that is driven by insulin resistance. The last clinical marker that I would that I would like to mention is PCOS and erectile dysfunction. It is absolutely certain that that if you have either of these, with women PCOS and with men erectile dysfunction, you have insulin resistance. In fact, there is a study that was recently published that said that erectile dysfunction is perhaps one of the first manifestations of insulin resistance. That's how strong the relationship is. So, and in 70% of PCOS cases are driven because of insulin resistance. So, if you have PCOS and erectile dysfunction, there is a pretty good chance that you are insulin resistant. So these are clinical markers. I'll just quickly wrap them up. Skin tags, darkening of skin patches, your waist size, hypertension, high blood pressure, and PCOS and erectile dysfunction. You don't need any blood tests for this. It's very simple. You can anyone listening to this can make this checklist, and they can go through that, and they will know.
But there are also blood tests.
Yes. Now we get to the blood test. And this is what pisses me off. These blood tests are so simple. Almost every lab would do it. And they're so cheap. And I do not understand why conventional medicine does not include this in their annual checkups. It is a crime, in my opinion. They look for blood sugar, which takes 15 years to go up, but they don't look for the underlying marker. The number one, the best test is fasting insulin. Okay? It's under $500. Most labs would do it. Unfortunately, you can't do it at home. Like, you can test your blood sugar at home. You have to go to a lab because it's a hormone. So, a lab would do it. Under $500, cheap test. It will tell you about your fasting insulin levels. And that's the number one test that everyone should get done. Even if your doctor doesn't order it, go do it yourself proactively. I highly recommend. But I must add something here. When you will get your blood, when you will get your fasting insulin done, you will see in your report there will be a reference range. And that's the second biggest crime. That reference range will tell you in India that fasting insulin levels of up to 25 are normal. Let me tell you this, without any doubt, if your fasting insulin levels are at 25, you are extremely insulin resistant. Extremely. What you want is and this is all the research and data pointing, right? The optimal fasting insulin levels are 5 and below. So when you get this test done, you want your fasting insulin levels to be 5 or below. 5 to 7 is good. 7 to 10 is early resistance. Above 10 is insulin resistance. So fasting insulin is the number one test that I would recommend.
Yeah.
Then the second test is called HOMA-IR, HOMA-IR. Actually, it's a really good test because it takes into account fasting insulin and fasting glucose. So it gives you a complete picture. You can, again, any lab would do it. And to save you some money, you don't have to order HOMA-IR because it tends to be slightly expensive. You can get your fasting glucose and you can get your fasting insulin. You multiply fasting insulin with fasting glucose and you divide that by 405, you will get your HOMA-IR score. And you want your HOMA-IR score for optimal metabolic health to be around 1 or below. And 1 to 1.5 is considered acceptable, good. 1.5 to 2 is early resistance. Above 2 is insulin resistance. That's HOMA-IR. Highly recommend that test as well. And then last test that I would recommend, actually, it's an indirect marker, but it's actually a pretty good marker. And the beauty is that this test, at least, is included on all the annual tests. But the unfortunate part is that we look at the wrong stuff in this test. And this is basically a lipid panel. So lipid panels are commonly ordered by everyone. And somehow our medical fraternity is obsessed with the cholesterol, total cholesterol count, or LDL. There are multiple human researchers that point that high cholesterol and high LDL is a marker of longevity. Cholesterol is a molecule of life. You are made of cholesterol. Your brain is made of cholesterol. Your sex hormones are made of cholesterol. You will not synthesize vitamin D if you don't have cholesterol in your body. And somehow cholesterol is the villain. But nonetheless, so when you look at your lipid panel, there's total cholesterol, there's LDL, there's HDL, there's triglycerides, there's VLDL. What you want to look at are two things. One is your HDL number. You ideally want your HDL to be as high as possible. And the second thing you want to look at is your triglycerides, and you want your triglycerides number to be as low as possible. And typically there is a term called triglycerides to HDL ratio. Simply take your triglycerides divided by HDL, you will get a ratio. For optimal metabolic health, that should be 1 and below. 1 to 1.5 is acceptable. Okay, 1.5 to 2 is early resistance. Above 2 is insulin resistance. Triglycerides to HDL ratio is a really good marker for insulin resistance. So these are the three blood tests that everyone should get done.